Hello?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Back to the Podcast.
Who is this?
With your host, Justin Neal, and I am Chris Lawler.
Wait, don't hang up.
Since it's October,
I want to talk to you for a second.
vibes are definitely changing.
They've got 900 numbers for that.
We're getting into that spooky time of year.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
So we're going to take a look at some of our
You
favorite,
have to have a favorite.
spooky.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Get a little creepy around here. Justin, how are you doing today? I know you're the one that actually got a chance to watch some stuff, so please enlighten us all. What did you see this week? What should we be watching?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here, of course.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts of the week. Recently, I had watched Mike Nichols' Working Girl for the first time, and kind of following suit in that time period, I watched Fried Green Tomatoes for the first time.
Right on.
I'd never seen it before, and I gotta tell you, I did not enjoy watching that.
Okay, why?
Not because it's a bad movie.
What made Justin unhappy today?
It's because Justin's from the South,
Yeah.
and it was way too close to home.
Just too close. Yeah, okay.
Kathy Bates' character, she's so good in it. But that character in the flowery dress with the candy bars and the purse and just everything, I felt like I was 10 years old in church, and that's who I was sitting next to.
Okay.
That is the environment I grew up in.
So it just-
not okay.
It brought back bad memories.
Not good.
Did you go fetal while you were watching
Justin is an expat Southerner, but there's a reason that I left, and watching that movie brought up a lot of those memories.
That's a shame to hear. I don't remember that movie that well. I think the last time I saw it was like the year it came out, or at least came out to like VHS. But I remember Kathy Bates being wonderful in that. Do you have the same problem with like Sweet Magnolias then?
Steel Magnolias.
Shit.
And yet,
I can't believe I said that.
for some reason, I don't.
I can't believe I did that.
I adore that movie.
Great.
Maybe it's Dolly Parton.
Dolly is amazing in that. Yeah.
Steel Magnolias has a place in my heart. It's so sad, though.
It is. Yeah.
So I have to be in the mood.
Tell me about it.
Actually, sometimes I will watch 3/4 of that movie and then just turn it off. Like, I don't need to see Shelby die. Even though Sally Field has that wonderful speech, that's really the, like, you know, culmination of the whole movie is her, like, mother speech at losing her daughter.
Oh, God, I want to know why.
And it's so good, but it's so hard to watch because, you know, it's emotional.
It is.
Anyway, I don't have the same issue with Steel Magnolias.
That's such a good movie.
Outside of Fried Green Tomatoes, I also watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
All right, you got caught up pretty quick there. What'd you think of the sequel, man?
I did. So I gotta tell you, I did not like it nearly as much as the first.
I hope you still enjoyed it, though.
I did enjoy it.
Good.
Nothing was poorly done about it. It is very well executed. The artwork is fantastic. Actually, the visual gags, just one after another after another. It's like a 2.5 hour long movie. And so I remember being about halfway through it and almost felt a little
Overstimulated.
like I was exhausted from like trying to follow all the different things that are
Yeah.
happening one after another, which is great on a craft level, but also sometimes kind of hard on an audience level. But it started off with like a 20-minute cold opening
Yeah.
about Gwen's character, the whole other thing. And then it goes into the movie. And I remember, after it happened and then the credits rolled up, I looked at my wife and was like, was that a 20-minute cold opening? And she was like, I think it was. I'm like, we're just now starting the fucking movie?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. So long movie. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong. This is where and this is a personal thing, so we can talk about it, because I don't think this is the movie's fault. This is just where Justin gets off the boat.
Okay, what's wrong with
It's
Justin?
that, man, when we're going into like interdimensional quantum shit, I just don't care.
Okay.
And it's also too, like, one of the main issues with that they're trying to stop, or the idea is it's about a canon event. It's Uncle Ben dying. Uncle Ben dying in Spider-Man's storyline is supposed to happen.
They're not all Uncle Ben.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, throughout all the different dimensions, whatever version of Spider person or Spider thing you are, because there's Spider Punk, and that was awesome.
It was.
But the idea is that this event is supposed to happen. It's the loss, and he stops this event from happening in a different dimension, and that's the big problem.
Yeah, without even knowing it, yeah.
And dude, when Oscar Isaac was explaining all of this shit to him, I was like, I don't fucking care. Oh my God, how many times has this thing happened? This event, we're rehashing this again. That's the peril we're in now. Cause to me, that's, I don't know, kind of scraping the barrel a bit of, what sort of peril can we put the interverse in?
I'm with that, but this is very rooted in Spider-Man comic lore.
I get it, but
actually.
And then our villain, played hilariously by Schwartzman, and there's lots of good like visual gags with the Spot or whatever he's called.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny, but that's not a villain. And actually the whole gag with him is they're like, he's a villain of the week. And he's like, I'm not just going to be a villain of the week, so I'm going to destroy the whole universe so that you'll take me seriously. I'm like, okay, wait a second. So
if you will, it was trying to be its own plot twist on the crap that they always do over and over again, if you will, right? You don't like it. He's shaking his head, everybody.
And that to me
He's not having
is weak storytelling.
Oh, okay.
If you're just referencing yourself because you're just spinning the same wheel. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't mean that it's uncreative, and it's not made by uncreative people. I am just not interested in staying in this wheel if it's just spinning itself over and over again and it's only referencing itself.
I guess I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
And that's fine.
I love that sequel.
But why did you like it?
All right, you don't like the cross-dimensional thing collapsing and stuff like that. I get that. But like I said, they're playing on the trope of that this is the only reason a Spider-Man can exist. And of course, one of the other subplots was that Miles Morales was never supposed to be made, right? In his universe. So
that was the best part. And at the end, the cliffhanger, like, oh, he's going to be his own villain. That's cool. I kind of dug that, but actually it was a little bit like too little too late for me because I don't know if I could sit through 2.5 hours to watch this stuff play out. And that's the most unfortunate part.
that is unfortunate, man.
It was well made. Of course it was. Visually, it was a feast. It was magnificent.
It was.
It didn't hook
That's a shame.
me in the heartstrings.
I really enjoyed that sequel a lot.
And I can see why. But it's a good example of what I don't go for in superhero movies. If it gets too far removed, I'm just not connected to it.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't have that emotional attachment.
Well, yeah, I guess, I mean, it's not like I was having an emotional attachment. I was having more of an emotional attachment to the art form. Like, I was being stimulated like every 5 seconds and then rewarded for that. I guess you and I had different viewings, man. Once again, when that movie first came out, I didn't think much of it. I was like, just another Spider-Man movie. Why should I even care? Threw it on and was just blown away, and just love it when a movie does that, you know?
So last night, though, we went in a different direction. We wanted to get more into the October, feels.
You sound like you had quite a good week, man. I'm jealous. So what did you get into?
This was an interesting one, and I got to tell you the truth. I fell asleep halfway through it, but I don't... And that's partly the movie's fault,
Is it?
And that's partly because I was so tired, but it's called A Ghost Story.
Okay.
With Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara.
Okay.
And
I'm drawing a blank.
You would not like this movie.
Good to
It is
know.
not for Lawler.
Okay.
You would be sitting there watching it going, oh my God, please something happen.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I don't like movies that don't do stuff.
And it was stretching me. I was sitting there going, really, man? Really? At times, like when he would, like the scene would end and then it would hold the shot longer. And that's when I go, okay, are we back in school? This is a cute school thing that we used to do because isn't it artistic? But let's fucking move this along, man. Something needs to happen. But the whole point of the movie, and I get it, and I think it would work as a shorter, like a short film. You know what I mean? I think it was a really good idea for a short film. And the idea is that it's a ghost story in the way that it's the story of a ghost. And what happens is Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara are in a relationship at the beginning. It doesn't say if they're married or not. It doesn't matter. And then he dies in a car accident. And then she goes to the morgue to identify him. She leaves, and then he sits up under the sheet. And then he just walks around, and there's 2 eyes, and he just stands there, and he doesn't say anything. And it's essentially, he's just like what a ghost might actually go through, which is can't interact with anything, can't do anything. You're just an observer of the people dealing with the aftermath of your death. And it was boring as fuck.
It wasn't worth the watch, huh?
It was, the cinematography was nice.
Yeah.
It was a neat experiment. You know what I mean? I see it
Yeah.
as like, it was a neat film experiment, in cinema experiment, in a way that you can tell a story that's different, but it's not a movie.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a play that they hit record on the camera. You know what I mean? It was one of those that you just sit there and it's like a student experiment. You can kind of see them on set going, how do you want to do this? Okay.
And yeah, like everybody had like took a part of being part of the creative process.
I'll just leave the camera going.
And there was no script.
And that's cool. I dig it. Don't get me wrong.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't think it needed to be a 90-minute movie. Actually, when it first started, I was like, great, it's only 90 minutes. Hell yeah.
I would have been excited about that too.
No, it should have been
And it still couldn't even do that.
30 minutes.
Wow, okay.
As an editor, it's like, dude, this is a 30-minute story.
So it could have just been like a short episode of Love, Death, Robots on Netflix or something.
Because it had interesting things about it, which is just the idea. I liked the concept, but it isn't about like extreme emotions of grief. You know what I mean? Like the actors and actresses, like Rooney Mara isn't mugging for the camera. It's very like,
Which is just boring.
But it was an interesting way to kind of lead into October. And, well, what's a good ghost story? Because I can't say it was bad, because for what it was, interesting. But
Yeah.
what would be like, what's a good ghost story? So, Chris, tell me, what's a good ghost story?
I mean, when we decided on this topic, the first thing that came to mind, which I think is still a solid movie, even though everyone knows how it ends, is The Sixth Sense. I mean, it's still a great, creepy movie. Haley Joel Osment is amazing in it. Bruce is amazing in it as well. It's atmospheric, and unlike, the movie you just mentioned there, the ghost story one, like, it's not slow. It's not boring. It's got you intrigued the whole time. And then to throw that plot twist that you weren't even really paying attention to, if you will, the first time you saw that. I remember seeing that in the theater and I was just like, this kid's fucked up and he's in therapy.
And it starts off with a great hook. That opening scene is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's got a Wahlberg in it, which is great.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in the theater, and I recognized it because my sister was a big New Kids on the Block fan at that time. And so by default, as the younger brother, I was a big New Kids on the Block fan.
That's funny.
And so when he showed up, I remember seeing that in the theater and being like, wait a second.
I'm surprised you caught that, because he didn't really look like that.
He hadn't started doing stuff a lot then.
No.
Man,
and he lost so much weight, so I'm surprised you caught it.
Man, I pick out directors in the back of shots when they're visiting friends on set. Like, I remember seeing Steven Spielberg's Minority Report with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And there's a scene when he first kind of escapes and he's on the run and he's on the subway. And I picked out the director Cameron Crowe sitting in an aisle seat like 3 rows behind him in the theater. And I was like, oh, look, it's Cameron Crowe. And everyone else is just watching the fucking movie. Like, no one even knows who Cameron Crowe is, let alone picking them out. So me picking out Wahlberg at the beginning wasn't that far of a stretch for me.
Right on.
Just because I'm that much of a nerd.
Yeah.
It's my superpower, but I wouldn't like glorify it in any way.
Did that movie have you hooked though? And like,
yeah.
I mean, the first time, do you remember?
The first time I saw it, sure. It became more of a phenomenon. And at that point, it was like, I mean, it was good, but
I think everybody was just happy to see something. And once again, it was another one of those movies that came along and was like, see, your audience isn't as stupid as Hollywood execs think. They always feel like they have to dumb things down for the audience.
They want something smart.
Once again, that was just one of those movies where it was like, I mean, the plot twist obviously explained everything. I don't remember too many people being confused by that.
No, they pretty much wrapped that up in a bow.
But it was great. We thought we were all watching this one weird movie about this weird kid, who sees dead people.
And it wasn't. It was a weird movie about a weird adult who's dead.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, I like that idea of, flipping the story to where the ghost doesn't know that they are the ghost. And another movie that I think does that well, and I haven't seen it since that first time, but it's Nicole Kidman in The Others.
Yeah, I remember when that one came out. I've never seen it.
It's moody, it's period,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's like The Sixth Sense. they're living in this house and it's kind of by candlelight and stuff. They don't have electricity and hearing lots of noises, and she thinks the house is haunted. And then you learn that
she's the haunting.
She's the ghost.
Yeah.
And she's the one haunting them. And it wasn't marketed especially that way. It was one of those, I remember seeing the others and being pleasantly surprised.
I bet.
Because
the
it wasn't
marketing
sold
was
as a
terrible.
twist. Because
No,
I wasn't
yeah.
watching it going, what's the twist? What's the twist? It just sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if anything, it was just like, what is going on? And then you go, oh, I didn't remember them like pushing it in that direction. And so when the reveal happened, I wasn't looking that way, but I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Anyway, that was a good one. Just flipping.
I just never saw it because the ending was kind of ruined for me. Like there was like all this hype that it was a bad movie, right? It got kind of mediocre, middling reviews as well, if I remember correctly. And the marketing was pretty bad. And then the plot was ruined, so I just never ended up seeing it. So that sucks. I bet if I knew nothing about that and sat down and watched it, it would have been good. There's a lot of movies that are like that. I mean, Terminator has been ruined by its marketing. We brought that up when we were talking about it a couple weeks ago when we were looking at
Terminator?
movies.
What?
Yeah, every Terminator movie has been revealed that
Oh, I get it.
the plot twist in Terminator is if he's good or evil and who's the fucking like
Do you like
drone.
the first Terminator? Do you like the original?
I like the atmosphere. There's moments of it and stuff, but obviously it's trumped by T2, which is the much more superior film. We all know that.
When I
right?
go back to the original, and I've tried to watch it in the past, 20 years or so a few times, and I make it about 10 minutes into the original Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm like, this was probably rad for its time, but
Yeah.
ooh, it's cringy now. Just the styles.
Yeah.
Just the styles. And it's something that they couldn't do anything about that. It just ages. You know what I mean? That's the nature
I
of
definitely
the beast.
still like Michael Biehn in there. Schwarzenegger is good in it.
Sure.
Like all the acting is still solid. There is a solid story.
But at that time, it was kind of a punk rock action indie movie. James Cameron was doing that.
They shot a lot of those scenes illegally too. They didn't even get permits to shoot some of that stuff.
Which is right. It was a punk rock sort of movie. I dig that.
Yeah.
I just can't watch it now. But anyway, that is not a ghost story.
No, not a ghost story. I know. We just got off on a rant.
Okay, well, I'll go into something a little older. Like, so
Uh-huh.
if I have to give a spoiler alert for this, then you're on your own. I don't apologize.
Okay. How old is this one?
And I think we might have talked about it. Either it got mentioned in movies that scarred us, or it could have been in one of the previous ones.
Okay.
Over time, the longer this show goes on, we're going to talk about everything more than once. So you know what?
We're gonna mention them.
We're just going to kind of say, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about it again because I don't think I gave the whole story. But okay, let me go back to the beginning. So it's really hard for me to get scared in a movie because I just know, like, how the sausage is made too much. Like, I'm just seeing lights beyond the framing and people behind the camera and, someone's pumping blood
Right,
through
yeah.
a tube and stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking about. So I can enjoy what's going on there and be like, yeah, you guys pulled that off. Sweet.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And there was a movie, though, that did that for me. And it was because of its time and place. It couldn't happen the way it did now because of the internet. But before the internet, in 1999, my uncle, I talked to him about movies every now and again. And so in the late 90s, before the internet, when I would chat with him, he would kind of give me some inside scoop of, hey, there's this movie coming out. Check it out, sort of thing. And one of them, he said, have you ever heard of this movie called The Blair Witch Project?
Oh man, the Blair Witch Project. Okay.
And I said, no, but cool title. It is a good title. He went, look, it's making the rounds now and the festivals and stuff. Eventually it'll come to whatever like local indie theater you have in Atlanta and check it out when it does. So I don't remember how much time had passed. It could have been, 6 months. It could have been a year. But I got word that there was this movie called The Blair Witch Project playing. And I was like, oh, I have to go see this. Didn't know anything about it. And before this one, the found footage genre had not been done like this before. It was a new thing.
No, that was pretty much the one, that kind of invented it and made it more mainstream. 100%.
So I sat down in this theater.
Not only that, but the internet marketing was also like a big deal with that because they made it, this is real. We really found this footage. These people are.
That's all I knew. There was no social media. And what was on the internet.
No, it was just the website.
So that first weekend it played in Atlanta, I sat my ass in a theater with a room full of people and no one knew anything. And it comes up with the title card that says, 3 people went into the woods and this is the footage that was found. And there was no reason for me to think otherwise. There really wasn't. And even at that point, I wasn't thinking, oh, they're probably using this as a gimmick. Now I would probably think that. But at that time, I literally just went like...
I know. No one had ever tried that before, really.
Actually, my first thought was, oh, cool. I wonder what's fucking on that footage. We're going to find out.
Yeah, so they were just going to put out a snuff film.
Or
you thought that's what was going to happen.
You just don't know.
That's funny.
Well, seeing in the theater was really unsettling.
I saw it in the theater too, dude. And I was bored out of my mind.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
There's nothing happening in here. They're just shaking the camera around. These kids are just hamming it up.
This is a perfect example of the differences in how we watch movies. I love that.
The coolest part is the last 5 seconds when they actually like drop the camera and the dude's standing in the corner and you're like, well, now I want to see this movie.
You're like, now the movie's just getting started.
Yeah, but I hate that movie, dude. It is so boring. It was so overhyped. It got sequels. It shouldn't have. They made that movie for like less than $140,000 or something like that. So it made millions off of nothing.
Baller.
And that's why that started up, because they were like, literally, we can put some cameras up and do some shaky cam stuff and go 90 minutes and barely have a plot.
Sure.
Seriously, the movie that really unsettled me and followed me home, and I guess we're going to go back into ghost stories, is Ju-on.
My man Tripp, I'm sure, knows that because he loves Japanese horror. So I remember when those came out, Ju-on 1 and 2, right? Or was there a third?
There might be. I didn't see Beyond 2. And 2 was, I think, better than the first one, in my opinion, man. 2 was really good. They did some very fun stuff with the storytelling in 2. It's been...
Are there canon events that they have to, make sure happen? Canon? Is that what the sequel is about?
No.
Do they have to save the Ju-on verse?
Justin, stop. No. They're fucked up. Japanese horror is just its own thing on its own. But so the first one we saw in the theater, and that one really messed with me. That one followed me home in the car. That one lingered for a day or two. So it was so creepy that I was like, hey, you know what I should do? I should invite a bunch of people out to the Angelica, right? Because it was playing at the Independent Theater. And I should invite a bunch of people. The only people that said yes were apparently 14 girls that were like, oh, go to the movie. It'll be a movie night. It'll be so much fun. Well, everyone pretty much was pissed at me by the end of that night. I had taken him to see the most fucked up movie like they'd ever experienced. And no one was happy with me.
A lot of people don't like that.
No.
My wife would not be happy with you.
I did preface it that way, though. I was like, guys, this movie really scared the shit out of me. We should go see it.
You said that and they signed up for it? Well, then fuck them. That's on them.
I did.
No.
And they did. That's on them. It's not like I said, we're going to go see some Disney movie and like, like, no, I told them what they were getting into.
No, I'm sorry. Buy the ticket, take the ride. That's on them.
Everybody was pretty mad at me.
Leave some comments below out there, audience. Let us know, because horror is just not my genre, but like, what's good and interesting?
Is your list already up? Do you have any more recommendations for a good ghost story?
No.
Really? Whew. That's a shame. I thought we were going to be able to do a quick fire round from you.
I don't.
Well, then Chris is going to be taking over the airwaves for a little while.
Sleepy Hollow?
If you want to call that a ghost movie.
I don't have any more.
That's a shit.
Beetlejuice?
That's on my list. I counted that.
Okay, Beetlejuice, ghost story.
Technically is.
Casper,
right? Yeah. But besides the Beetlejuice, they're haunting that house. They're learning how to haunt their house, right? So it's more about Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin.
What's any good?
That's it then. Chris is taking over.
The Exorcist?
This is just painful now. You're just trying to think of like popular films now. You're like, I think I've heard of this one. Ghost.
Oh, right, Ghost.
The highest grossing film of 1990. Yeah.
That's a great horror movie.
But not a horror movie at all.
Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze, that's a horror movie.
No, it's not. Now you're just being facetious.
Whoopi Goldberg saves that movie.
I'm done.
The Righteous Brothers save that
I'm
movie.
done. We're going to move on to Chris's list.
I'm just messing with you. I do like ghosts.
So now, since Justin knows nothing about ghost movies, Chris is going to enlighten you a little bit. So since you didn't have any good ones, I made sure I had a list over here here, so I'm just gonna throw out some quick recommendations, man. The Frighteners, number one of my favorite ghost movies. Shocked you didn't bring that one up. The Conjuring, really enjoy the first one of those. And I'm assuming someone's going to tell me, oh, but this one was good and this one was good. But really, it was just the first one for me. And then Monster House, animated movie. Did you ever see Monster House?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's a Zemeckis movie. And it.
I think he produced it. I don't think he directed that one.
But that was the one where they were doing mocap. Like it was one of the first like motion captured movies.
But I don't think he directed it.
But there were so many good people in that one. Catherine O'Hara, Steve Buscemi and stuff. Really? And the mocap was so good that I was once
What
again.
level of mocap was it? Was it
100%? The entire actors.
No. I mean, in terms of Zemeckis, because he'd been working on that technology for a long time. So you got like Polar Express mocap.
No. What they did
cringy.
was, this is what it was genius about, is they kept like a cartoony Pixar style look going on there, but by using the mocap, everybody felt very real and living in their environment. And
okay, so they weren't trying to. It didn't get into uncanny valley territory because they weren't trying to make it look real.
This one was very cartoony still.
I think that's what worked about Tintin really well.
I never saw Tintin, but I heard good things about that one.
That one is so good. It is what it was the equivalent of like Indiana Jones when Indiana Jones came out. It's the closest thing to an Indiana Jones movie I've seen since Indiana Jones.
Okay, so just a fun adventure movie.
Fuck yeah.
I need to see that one.
You would love it.
I bet I would.
Oh my God, I can't believe you haven't seen Tintin.
No, it's been on the list for a long time, so I'm very aware of it, but it's
good, Spielberg.
Never got a chance to sit down and watch that one.
Oh, but also, just one last reference to something you said earlier. I'm glad you brought up The Frighteners.
The Frighteners, man. Guys, if you haven't seen The Frighteners, we'll probably do a deeper dive in The Frighteners as we get closer to the end of October.
Frighteners is a great movie.
It's a great movie.
That's a cult movie, too, we could have talked about.
But I don't even know if it has a cult following. Like, I rarely find people that are familiar with that. I know.
Me and you, we're starting the cult.
Just to throw out the last two out there, man. Ghostbusters. I mean.
Oh my God.
I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. I mean. As much
Who are you
as
gonna call?
Yeah, I mean, the sequel was a little bit more
horror.
comedic.
See, this is my problem. I was thinking horror, and because it's not much of my genre, I wanted to hear from you. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to learn something from this one.
But Ghostbusters for sure, man. I mean, I still think that the first one is a great horror movie with some great light comedy in it, if you will. And then Insidious, man. Insidious was a fun one. Yeah, no, Insidious
that's more
is
of what
one.
I think of when I was thinking about this episode. That's the kind of example which
Yeah.
I haven't seen, but I was like, tell me about Insidious. Why
James
do you like
Wan is a
Insidious?
great director, man. And I think that
I know that name.
Yeah, he's doing Aquaman now, is where he's grown to, but he's one of the original creators of Saw.
Saw. That's what I think of when I think of James Wan. I think, wait, what's that? Saw. That's what I'm thinking. Huge hit.
And it was a huge hit. And obviously now the 10th one's about to come out, which is blowing my mind. I just watched the trailer for it the other day and I'm like, I don't even think they understand the story.
That's when I think of
anymore.
like Jason Takes Manhattan. You know what I mean? When you're on Saw 10, it's like into the Saw verse.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna like,
oh
what
my
are we
goodness.
even doing? No, this canon event had to happen.
That's kind of actually what this movie's
Saw
about. Yeah, no,
movie.
I'm not kidding you. That's what this movie's about. Is the canon event of him getting the cancer and they don't remove it, so he gets revenge on his doctors. Like, so I'm not even joking. I just saw the trailer yesterday. Oh my goodness.
God.
On that note, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up. This has been an absolute thrill ride so far. Having fun talking about these movies. The highs and lows of them, apparently. And of course, we've been having fun with you guys. Please drop it down in the comments below. What other ghost movies did we miss out there that we should be watching?
If his arm doesn't get cut off, then this person doesn't get saved, then the Sawverse collapses. His arm has to get cut off in the
Leave
trap.
it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and go ahead and turn on that bell for notifications because we drop new episodes like this every single week. Join us on the Facebook group, Back to the Podcast discussion, where we're going to be talking about some of our favorite Halloween-themed movies throughout the month. Blankety blank blank
and
blank.
Of course, subscribe.
No, that's what I just said it already.
Subscribe.
Do it.
Actually, yeah, I was thinking of using some Arlie Ermy. Yeah. Wake up, maggots! Time to subscribe!